Hi everyone, good afternoon, grade 12. So yun, no, since malapit na matapos yung mga chapters natin, let's have a quick review for chapter 5, lesson 1, Quantitative Research Design. Meron pa rin palang mga hindi gets, no, or nahirapang sagutan yung paper quizzes nila in this lesson of chapter 5. Okay, so let's have a quick review lang, quick discussion. So I'll be playing a video, so you can just watch there and while answering your question. And for those na hindi pa rin alam yung grades, sa research nila kasi last time hindi nakapagtanong, then you can just PM me. And if may mga clarifications while playing the video, you can chat me if parang ilang beses na kayo nagsasagot nagkakamali pa din. No? So again, ano naman tayo, unlimited try naman tayo in answering the quizzes, yung mga performance test natin and yung written work. Okay? So I'll be sharing my screen. And let me know if you can see. Yan. Okay, so I think it's a yes na nakikita natin yung screen. And everyone can hear my microphone. Then I think we can start now.
Can everyone see my screen and if you can hear my mic? Okay, so I think yes naman for everyone. So I think we can start now. So since we're already in our chapter 5 for the quarter 4. So last quarter na tayo guys. Isang quarter na lang, then gagraduate na kayo. So kapit lang, ilang months na lang po, siguro hanggang July na lang. Okay, so unting sipag na lang, unting push na lang, unting pagpupuyat, gagraduate na kayong lahat. And then makakapag-college, yan, iba sa inyo mag-work. So let's start. Okay, for the chapter 5 or unit 5, Quantitative Research Design and Methodology, lesson 1, Quantitative Research Design. Okay, so how do you want your data to be measured and collected? Okay, so yeah, depende naman yan sa klase ng research na gagawin nyo. Kasi merong research na appropriate for qualitative, meron namang mga research na mas appropriate kung gagamitin natin ay quantitative. Okay? So kapag nag-quali yan, saka nag-quanti, so iba namang type ng measurement and then ways how to collect the data. Okay, so after this discussion, we should be able to differentiate the 3 research designs according to the purpose and procedure. Distinguish the research design used in quantitative research. Assess the quality of a specific research design used in a quantitative research study. Okay, so for analysis, so let's analyze the situation. A group of nutritionists wants to test the effect of Veggie X, a vegetable-based food supplements which is believed to increase the appetite of young children. The nutritionists compared 2 groups. One is the group who took the food supplement along with their meals, and the other group was given their usual meals without that supplement. They compared the amount of food consumed by the group of young children who were given Veggie X and to those who did not take the supplement. Okay, so ang kino-compare natin dito, no, yung amount ng food na intake or kinain ng children, comparing yung nakapag-take ng food supplement versus sa hindi nakapag-take ng food supplement. So, sino kaya yung mas maraming kinain? Okay, so, syempre, no, kumbaga, parang marami yung sampling na pwede nating, just to make sure, no, na nakukuha natin yung tamang data. Maraming sampling tayong kailangan or marami tayong population na kailangan just to prove na yung difference between the two. So, appropriate dito yung quantitative research. Okay. So, quantitative research design are empirical, straightforward, and can test their reliability and validity. Okay, so we can test their reliability and validity through statistics. Okay, so straightforward kasi once na test natin yan or kinumpit natin yan using statistic, doon nalabas kung merong relationship, merong correlation, merong significant relationship between two variables. Okay, so what are the factors to consider in using quantitative research design? So ano yung mga dapat natin i-consider, no, para gumamit tayo ng quantitative? Ayan, so quantitative research designs vary in terms of the following. So the intent, use of manipulation, and the procedures used. Okay, so deep research design of a study can easily be identified based on the abstract of a journal article. Okay, so under quantitative, we have experimental research design. Okay, so diba meron tayong tatlong research design na sinabi kanina sa learning objective. Yung isa dito is experimental research design. So yung purpose ito is to, the purpose of this experimental research design is to find out whether an intervention considered as the independent variable has an effect on dependent variable. Okay, so pag gumamit tayo ng experimental research design dun sa kaninang situation, yung independent nun is yung children, no? And yung food supplement. And then yung dependent naman dun is yung kapag nag-take sila ng food supplement, dadami ba yung food or not, ganun. Okay, parang ano nito, yung relationship between independent and dependent. Pag nag-increase yung independent, pag nag-increase yung intake or nag-take ng food supplement, dadami ba yung food intake nila? Mas gagana ba sila kumain? Ganun. Kapag nag-increase yung isang variable, maaaring mag-increase or mag-decrease yung another variable. So yung dependent doon is yung nag-increase or nag-decrease na variable depending on the other variable. Okay, when using experimental research design, randomization of participants to different groups. So we have two variables, the new curriculum, or when we are using new curriculum or the old curriculum in study, what will be the effect? Okay, pag old curriculum ba, same level pa rin ba ng reading comprehension? If we're using the new curriculum, mas tataas ba yung level of reading comprehension ng mga students? Okay, that might be the example. Experimental research design and example design must contain the following elements. First is treatment or intervention. Controlling extraneous variables and randomization of participants. Okay, when we're going to use experimental design, ito dapat yung mga elements na, yung treatment or yung intervention. For example, yung gumamit tayo ng food supplement, that can be an example of intervention. Controlling extraneous variables, and dapat we're using randomization of participants. For example, groupings into new curriculum, and then another groupings naman for those who use the old curriculum. Okay, so for causal relationship, application of fertilizer Z causes and then the plant growth. Okay, ito naman, yung causal relationship, para din siyang experimental. Another type of experimental research design under yun is yung causal relationship. Yan, meaning, pag in-apply natin, pag more na nag-apply tayo ng fertilizer Z to the plants, ano kaya yung mangyayari? Mas tutubo ba siya? Mas lalago? Ganun. Or mas bibilis yung tubo niya? Ganyan. As an experimental design, so as an experiment, okay, so another quantitative research again. As an experimental design requires the independent variable to be manipulated, but it lacks a key element of an experimental design, which is randomization. Okay, so parang same din siya ng thought with the experimental design. Yun nga lang, wala siyang randomization. So, paano nga ba siya nangyayari? Okay. Okay, so yun, at first, no, kung maalala nyo, di ba sa experimental, merong randomization population do, tapos pagagamitin sila ng new curriculum or ng old curriculum, and then they will test what would be the level of reading comprehension. For the quasi-experimental naman, for example, merong section 1 and then section 2. The section 1, pure new curriculum lang yung gagamitin nila. And then, the section 2, pure na old curriculum lang yung gagamitin nila. So, and then, iti-test nila, no, kung yung reading comprehension level ng section 1 and then section 2. Okay, sa tingin nyo, sino yung mas better sa dalawa? Yung experimental or quasi-experimental? What's your thought? Kasi di ba yung sa experimental, random population, and both, yung nasa loob ng randomization population na yon, random population na yon, is lahat sila gagamit ng new curriculum and old curriculum, and then check lang kung tumaas ba yung level of comprehension. Well, dito naman, meron na tayong 2 groups. In section 1, gagamit ng new curriculum. Old curriculum naman sa section 2, and then they will compare. So I think sa dalawa, let me know if you agree, mas makakuha tayo ng accurate na result if we're going to use the experimental design. Okay? Kasi parang ang error na pwede natin makuha is that, how if yung nasa section 1 is, even using old curriculum or new curriculum, mataas talaga yung level of comprehension nila. Kasi, malay nyo, matatalino talaga silang bata, di ba? And then, while the section 2 naman, maaaring yung mga majority ng bata doon is, at the first place talaga is, hindi talaga ganun kagalingan yung reading comprehension nila. Okay? Either gumamit man sila ng new curriculum or old curriculum. Okay, so parang hindi natin makukuha yung pinaka-accurate na result. Unlike ng experimental, since iisang population lang yung gagamit ng new curriculum and old curriculum, saka tayo magko-compare. Doon talaga mako-compare natin kung may effect ba talaga yung new and old curriculum sa isang bata. Okay? Okay, let's move on. What other situation can quasi-experimental research design be used? Okay. So next naman is correlational design. Okay, so correlational research studies the association between two variables but does not tell its causality. Okay, so ito, chine-check natin yung two variables if meron silang significant correlation sa isa't isa. Though, we all know na wala naman talaga siyang, parang hindi naman siya, kumbaga hindi naman siya originally dependent, yung dependent variable dun sa independent variable. Okay, for example, yung kanina sa isa, kapag naglagay ba tayo ng fertilizer, tataas ba? Okay? So dito naman, check din yung correlation ng two variables without, parang wala talaga, yung at the first place, hindi naman talaga natin in-experiment kung may effect siya sa isa't isa. For example, yung height and weight. Okay? So, talaga bang kapag mas mataas ang height mo, mas mabigat ka? Not all the time, di ba? So, depende pa rin yan sa laki ng katawan. Okay, so that can be used in correlational design. Yung height and weight, ayan. Okay, yung ano naman, yung iba naman, yung height, yung size ng animals versus their heartbeat. Okay? So, we want to test kung meron bang correlation yung two variables na hindi naman talaga sila dependent sa isa't isa. Okay? We just want to check kung meron silang correlation. Kasi for example, lumabas na yung yung weight pala is nakadepende kung gaano katangkad. Okay, pero 'di ba not all the time nangyayari 'yun. Kasi merong mga people na kahit patangkad sila pero payat sila, so mababa pa rin yung kilogram nila. Okay, so for example, we want to check the relationship between two variables, for example, yung stress level and then yung academic performance. Okay, so let's just check na kung mas mataas ba yung stress level, mataas ba yung academic performance. Kasi 'di ba merong mga students na even stress sila is kaya nilang pangalagaan yung academic performance nila. Okay, but we want to check the majority. When is it appropriate to use correlational research design? Okay, so let's check the difference between positive and negative correlation. When we say positive, again, parang just like the experimental, kapag nag-increase yung isang independent variables, nag-i-increase din yung dependent. Or, mali pala, we're not using here independent and dependent variables. So, kapag yung isang variable, yung variable A, nag-increase, yung variable B, nag-i-increase din. So, positive relationship yun. Kapag negative naman, inverse relationship siya. Meaning kapag nag-increase yung value ng variable A, nag-decrease naman yung variable B. Okay, so yan, positive as one variable increases, so is the other variable. This is also known as direct relationship. So when we're using correlational design, we are not using, or kumbaga hindi tayo gagamit ng dependent at independent variables. Yung dependent at independent variable na yun, applicable lang for experimental research. So for example, higher motivation level of students is related to higher academic performance. Yan. So kapag mas mataas yung motivation ng students, mas mataas din pala daw yung higher academic performance. May positive relationship sila sa isa't isa. Negative naman, as one variable increases, the other variable decreases. This is called inverse relationship. Yan. Higher stress level of student is related to lower academic performance. Okay? So meaning kapag kapag daw mas mataas ang stress level is mas mababa yung lower academic performance. Okay, so kapag nirun natin to sa statistic or siguro by just using mean, median, and mode, we will check kung nag-positive ba or nag-negative ba yung relationship nila. Okay, so descriptive research design, the purpose of descriptive research design is to study a naturally occurring phenomenon or subject of interest. It simply describes a specific characteristic or behavior of a target population. Okay, so parang instead of using numbers, kumbaga parang majority of your paper is using number, parang dinadescribe natin yung mga target population natin. So what are some limitation of descriptive research design? Okay, so survey research explores the trends of characteristic of a group of people. Demographic research describe basic life events. Epidemiological research studies different patterns of disease and health. Okay, so remember that descriptive research designs explain different patterns of information about a target population. Okay, so for example, let's analyze this situation. Jamie and her group mates conducted a study exploring the extent to which parenting styles are related to the self-esteem of Filipino adolescents. So kumbaga yung taas ba ng self-esteem ng Filipino is depende ba sa parenting styles ng mga parents nila. The participants answered 2 questionnaires. The study revealed that parenting styles were positively related to the self-esteem of Filipino adolescents. Okay, so just to wrap up, a quantitative research design can either be experimental, correlational, or descriptive. The key elements of an experimental research design are manipulation of the independent variable, control of extraneous variables, and randomization of participants. While the correlational research design aims to describe the relationship between 2 or more variables. The most common research studies under descriptive research design are survey, demographic, epidemiological research. Okay, so do we have any question for lesson 1? Okay, if not, let's proceed to lesson 2. Quantitative research design and methodology. Lesson 2, sampling procedure for quantitative research. So how can you ensure that the sample is representative of the population you are studying? Okay, so at the end of this discussion, we should be able to identify the different sampling techniques. Choose an appropriate sampling technique for a research study. Determine the sample size based on your target population. Okay, so what are the limitations of the surveyor with regard to the sampling of their participants? And how can we how can we or the researchers ensure that the participants for their research represent a target population? Okay, so sampling in quantitative research, yan, is a group of people possessing a similar characteristic. Okay, so for example, yung ano natin, yung research natin, isang target natin doon is yung mga taga-Las Piñas, teenager, and then or students, then doon tayo kukuha ng population. Sample pertains to the subgroup or portion from a population. So hindi naman lahat ng students sa Cavite or Las Piñas is dapat natin i-interview. Dapat kukuha lang tayo doon ng enough sample para mag-conduct ng research natin. So what is the difference between sampling in a quantitative and qualitative research? I can say that mas madami yung sampling ng quantitative eh. While the qualitative research, madalas kasi itong kino-conduct sa mga leaders eh. Like, pag ginamit kasi natin ng qualitative research in business, like ano, yung mga owners, yung mga, ano ba, yung parang mga distinctive na target po, ano natin, target interviewing natin. Like mga boss, mga, yun yung, madalas yun dun ginagamit eh. Probability sampling. In probability sampling, all individuals from target population have an equal chance of being selected for the sample. Okay, so parang hindi tayo namimili, no, random. Kahit pa anong year niyan sa school, as long as student siya and taga Cavite, then lahat ng yun ay may equal opportunity to answer your survey. Simple random sampling. Simple random sampling is when the researcher randomly selects their participants from a list of all individuals from the population. Yan, parang ganun nga. No? So since hindi naman natin lahat ng nasa population ay dapat nating i-interview. So kukuha lang tayo. Okay? So random select, and kahit anong section yan, kahit anong babae man o lalaki, as long as pasok siya sa criteria na student siya and then taga Las Piñas, then that would be part of our interview list. Systematic random sampling. A systematic random sampling, the researcher randomly decides on a starting point on the list and chooses every nth case from the population. Kunyari kumuha ka na listahan ng students, and then yung every 5 or every 5th na students, yun yung interviewin nyo. Stratified random sampling pertains to the division of target population into subgroup and randomly selects participants from each group. Okay, for example, kailangan makakuha tayo ng 10 sa first year, 10 sa second year, 10 sa third year, tsaka 10 din sa fourth year. Hindi na pala tayo nagamit ng ganun, no? Na pala tayo, mga grade level na pala tayo. For example, 100 sa senior high, and then 100 for the junior high, ganon. Non-probability sampling. Sample is chosen by the researcher from the target population rather than being randomly selected. Pero dapat hindi ganun. Dapat is better pa rin na random para walang bias. At hindi natin ma-manipulate yung result pag namili tayo. What could be a disadvantage of using non-probability sampling? Yun nga, kapag may bias or namili tayo, pwede nating mabago, no, yung resulta. Depende sa kagustuhan natin. Convenience sampling. Convenience sampling, the researcher recruits participants who are readily available and accessible to participate in the research study. So, kailan kayo siya nangyayari? Kapag, kunyari, nag-survey tayo tapos di ba ang madalas sa ating interview or binibigyan ng survey form is kung kunyari nasa school tayo, kung sino yung nasa study area, yung walang klase, yun yung madalas sa ating instead na yung mga nasa classroom kasi baka hindi tayo payagan ng teacher kapag mag-conduct tayo ng survey. Okay? Quota sampling involves selecting people from different subgroups from the target population. Parang same din siya ng isang kaninang nabanggit na kunyari like 10 kukuha tayo sa senior high and then naman sa junior high. Yeah. In purposive sampling, the researcher chooses their participants intentionally because they are considered as most suitable for research study. Okay. Pwede rin naman siya, no? Like, kasi syempre, kapag gusto talaga natin makuha yung result, yung appropriate na result, pwede tayong mamili. Like, intention yung pag-ano natin. Depende rin sa study. So, pwede natin magamit ng purposive sampling. Snowball sampling is done when a researcher contacts few potential participants and asks them if they can refer more participants having similar characteristics. Okay, kapag may recruitment pa, no? Yan. Yung interviewee mo magre-recruit pa ng another interviewee. Yeah. So remember, non-probability sampling is used to address practical concerns in a research study. The most common methods under this technique are convenience quota, purposive, and snowball sampling. Sample size. The sample size is the actual number of individuals who participated in the research study and contributed significant data. Okay, just to wrap up, the goal of sampling in quantitative research is to obtain a sample of individuals who are representative of the target population. The techniques used in sampling for quantitative research are the probability and non-probability sampling. Probability sampling is categorized into simple, systematic, and stratified random sampling. Convenience quota, purposive, and snowball sampling are the most common types of non-probability sampling. Okay, do we have any question for lesson 2? Okay, none. Let's proceed to lesson 2. Okay, lesson 3. Research instrument for quantitative research. And how can we ensure that the research instruments constructed are reliable and valid? Okay, yung nagawa ba natin questionnaire is valid na ba siya and then reliable na para makuha natin yung result na kailangan natin. So we need to check that. So at the end of this discussion, we should be able to identify the instrument that researchers used in a quantitative research or study. Create a valid and reliable instrument for a quantitative research or study. Assess the instrument's validity and reliability to provide a good quantitative data. Okay, so parang this is an example of a questionnaire or a survey form. Yan. So gumamit siya ng tawag dito ng rates. For example, Likert scale na tinatawag, like from strongly agree to strongly disagree. Okay, types of research instruments. An instrument can be defined as a tool such as a questionnaire or a survey that measures specific items to gather quantitative data. Yung instrument na tinutukoy dito is yung survey form. Yung questionnaire natin. Demographic form, so yung first part ng questionnaire natin or ng survey form natin is yung demographic forms. So here, ang kinokollect natin is yung mga basic information like yung age, gender, ethnicity, and annual income. So again, depende to sa type ng research na meron kayo. Okay? Para pwedeng age or gender lang, or age, gender, and annual income. So, depende, no? Pwede pa rin natin dagdagan to. Depende sa research nyo. So, here's the example of age, gender, civil status, and nationality. Okay, usually first part yan ng survey form eh. Performance measures. Performance measures are used to assess or rate an individual's ability, such as achievement, intelligence, aptitude, or interest. Yung attitudinal measures are instruments used to measure an individual's attitudes and opinions about such subject or any subject. Behavioral observation checklists are used to record individuals' behaviors and are mostly used when researchers want to measure an individual's actual behavior. Factual information documents are accessed to tell information about the participants' documents such as available public records. Okay, we just want to parang another survey or another form ng instrument is yung we want to check yung, for example, yung financial statement ng isang company or yung performance ng isang empleyado, yun. Okay, dapat meron tayong public records. So which type of research instrument do you think is appropriate for your study and why? Okay, so constructing research instruments for quantitative research. Okay, so how do we construct research instruments? First, yung objective natin. And then, yung objective natin, di ba, nako-convert siya into question. And then, kapag na-convert na siya into question, saka tayo mag-gather ng mga required information, like yung mga nasa related, review of related literature natin. Kumbaga mag-research pa tayo kung ano ba yung mga madalas na natatanong based dun sa topic na meron tayo. Hindi tayo pwedeng basta gumawa lang ng sarili nating question. We need to check kung ano bang type ng survey, ano bang type ng instrument, ano bang type ng questions yung appropriate para dun sa topic mo. And then, through that, you can now formulate your questions or i-paraphrase mo yung existing ng questionnaire kasi yun talaga yung standard, then you can do that. Okay, the general rule in constructing a research instrument is that it must ensure that the questions in the instrument are relevant to the objectives of the study. So again, even the questionnaire, you need to research that. Magiging part siya ng review of related literature mo. So kumbaga hindi ka pwede mag-imbento ng question. Okay? You need to make sure na may backup yung questions mo. Like ito kasi yung ginagamit din sa ibang study. So just to make sure na nasa standard yung questionnaire mo. So again, no, hindi ka pwede mag-invento. Hanggang hindi ka naman credible na mag-create ng sarili mong questions. Yeah. So actually, itong format na to, this can be used for conceptual framework. And first is the objective, and then yung mga related questions. Like ito yung lumabas sa review of related literature mo na ito yung mga pwede natin itanong, and then mga information required sa, di ba ito yung mga related questions na research natin for review of related literature. And then, i-connect mo pa yung mga kailangan mong information or kailangan mong result doon sa mga questions. And then you can now formulate your questions. So yung first part is yung demographic, like yung mga age, gender, and then next naman is yung questions na natin. Then what comes to mind when you hear the word health and wellness, and then pick the following activities or programs that you think you can promote and promote health and wellness. Quality of an instrument. Okay, so how do we measure yung quality ng questionnaire natin? Or how can we make sure na valid ba to? No? Baka naman mali-mali yung tanong, ganun, hindi natin makuha yung result na kailangan natin. So when for the reliability, it is the stability and consistency of an instrument under different circumstances or points. Okay, dapat yung bawat question consistent siya sa isa't isa. Okay? Validity, so the capacity to measure what is supposed to measure. Okay, do you think research instrument can be reliable without being valid? Why or why not? Okay, so let's check, no? So for the types of reliability, internal consistency, split half reliability, odd even, reliability, cronback, coefficient alpha. Ito yung mga techniques, no, para ma-check natin kung reliable ba yung questionnaire natin. But usually, ang gumagawa nito is yung mga statistician. Kailangan natin ng certificate of validity na reliable yung reliable and valid yung research instrument natin. Most likely naman is statistician yung gumagawa nito. Okay. The Cronbach's coefficient alpha may be obtained using computer software like statistical analysis software or spreadsheets. Okay, so meron na tayong mga software na pwedeng gamitin just to check the Cronbach's coefficient alpha ng instrument natin. Types of reliability, yung stability over time, test-retest reliability. Kumbaga, itong questionnaire na ito, ginamit siya sa ganitong generasyon, and then after generation, ginamit siya, and we're still, it's still giving the same result, so it can be a reliable questionnaire. Okay? Or this year, and then after a year, ginamit pa din siya, and then the same result, so same, kumbaga, reliable siyang questionnaire. Alternate forms, also called as parallel forms. Kumbaga, parang mini-mirror mo yung yung questionnaire mo. Parang paraphrase mo lang naman siya. But nag-paraphrase ka ng question, but it will still give the same result, then that can be reliable. Kasi merong mga times na kapag pinaraphrase natin yung questionnaire natin, or arrange lang natin siya, and then different result na siya, then hindi na siya reliable. What particular construct or variables are most likely to be stable over time? And then we'll check the types of validity. First, phase validity, extent to which an instrument appears to measure what is supposed to measure. Okay, so if we want to measure yung financial management or financial behavior and financial literacy, so dun ba sa question na yun ay na-measure ba siya? Ayun ba yung supposedly result na makukuha natin? Content validity, ability to test the items to include important characteristic of the concept intended to be measured. Kumbaga, nandun ba yung mga characteristic na kailangan natin? Kasi para ma-measure natin yung financial literacy, for example, yung mga characteristic like kaya ba nila mag-compute ng basic computations, yung mga simple interest, compound interest, time value of money, for example. Criterion validity tells whether a certain research instrument can give the same result as other similar instruments. Okay, so for example, di ba tayo, di naman tayo gumawa ng sarili natin questionnaire, nag-paraphrase lang tayo kasi di ba, hindi pa naman tayo credible na gumawa ng sarili nating questionnaire. And kailangan pa rin natin mag-base sa standard questionnaires. So, ang ginagawa natin, pina-paraphrase natin yung ibang questionnaire, but it will still give the same result, then that is valid. Okay? Construct validity, convergent, and discriminant validity. Okay, yung questionnaire mo ba walang dinidiscriminate na na sample or population, then that can be valid. A valid test is always reliable, but a reliable test is not always valid. Okay, so just to wrap up before we end this discussion, research instruments for quantitative study mostly have 5 general types: demographic forms, performance measure, attitudinal measures, behavioral observation checklist, and factual information documents. The quality of a research instrument can be determined by its reliability and validity. Reliability is defined as stability and consistency of an instrument over a period of time, while validity pertains to the extent where an instrument accurately measures what it's supposed to measure. Okay, so do we have any question, guys?
Okay, guys, may question ba? Okay, so if not, we can now dismiss. Thank you, everyone. Bye.